You gonna do the wine thing, or is that enough?
You know what, can I?
Okay.
Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we're doing this again.
What are we having for dinner tonight,
Oh my
Jody?
god. Try and not make this lame, please.
No, I had to edit myself out a lot on the last one.
Right. Okay, so what do we have? A bunch of random shit, actually. Mushrooms that are left over from the last one of these I did.
It's a different thing.
Different one. Anyways,
Cabbage.
half a thing of mushrooms. Bean sprouts, soybean sprouts that were totally on sale for 99 cents for this bag.
And I love bean sprouts.
Most of the stuff I try to buy at the grocery store is what's on sale. Because, like this, for example, this is cut pork loin medallions. Buy one, get one free. You don't pay full price for this stuff. Look for the discount meat. You can always make something work. May not be exactly what you want. For me, for example, like chicken legs. Don't like chicken legs. But I can make it work. So, you got to figure out a way to make it work. So, pork medallions, buy one, get one free. Are they close to being past their prime? Yes. But they're not. And remember, like we talked about with the steak, sometimes stuff, when it's right at the cusp of turning to the point where you might want to not eat it, a lot of times it tenderizes it a lot. Pork, same as beef, that giving it a few days to age, and I know it's not like dry aging, but it's still aging a little bit and the proteins relax. So it's not always bad to get meat that's a day or two before expiration date. That being said,
it's not technically expiration date, right?
It's the user freeze by, right?
Which is almost, I guess I'm trying to instill a little confidence.
I kind of view it as a loose guidance.
Right.
Like, the store is assuming you're going to take probably 1 to 3 days to use that product. And so they're making sure they sell it 1 to 3 days before it would be bad. That being said, if you ever smell meat and you're not sure, put it back. It's not worth the risk. If you have something that you've at home and it's in the fridge and you take it out and you open it and you're like, make the judgment call. And it's hard for me to give you guidance on that. But with something that's at the store, if even it's on the expiration date, if you're going to use it that night, which most of the time I do because I'm not really planning ahead much. So anyways, pork medallions, buy one, get one free. Don't pay full price for stuff. If you learn anything today. Also, I stopped at the liquor store. I don't know for any reason. This is Gnarly Head Old Vine Zin. That probably looks terrible. For no good reason except that I like the bottle. I don't know if that will go with whatever I'm making, or if I'll use it when I'm making this, but I'm drinking it, so there's that. Okay. I was really kicking around with how to try and do something with this stuff, and I'm still not sure this is going to work, but we're going to try it. So, pork medallions, this thick, very difficult to cook all the way through. We're going to sear them, and then we're going to bake them. And I already turned the oven on. No, I cheated. I already turned the oven on to 425 degrees because I knew I was going to have to cook the pork that way. It's the only way I'm going to get it done and not burn the hell out of it cooking it. So, cast iron pan. It's a good cast iron pan. It'll actually work really well for this. It's
It actually made a cameo in the last video.
yeah. So, pork.
Olive oil in the pan.
Olive oil in the pan. Olive oil in the pan. Okay, so I really try to not make dishes. It's kind of a thing. It annoys me when I have to do dishes, so I try to avoid it like the plague. So a lot of times you'll see me take shortcuts, as in this case. This pork is all tenderloin. You don't have to cut the fat off this. It's going to be tender, inherently so. So just use it. Don't trim the fat off. It'll give it a little bit of flavor.
Is that how they got the name?
What?
Tenderloin?
Actually, usually meat with more fat in it ends up being better. Tenderloin is usually pretty soft just because it's a very little used muscle. That's why it's tender. But that's why a Delmonico is considered to be so much better of a steak than a filet mignon, because the Delmonico has fat in it. And when you cook it, that fat is just kind of like butter. You know, it essentially seasons the meat from the inside out. That sounds a little gross, but it's really what's going on. So, salt, again. Salt brings flavor out in meat. You don't want to go crazy unless, you should never go crazy with it. If you're going to grill, I always put a little bit more on. Some of it's going to stick to the grill. It just is. So you're going to lose some that way. This, if you remember, is actually from the last video I made. I didn't throw the excess away. So this is salt, garlic powder, chili powder, a little bit of black pepper. We're going to give this a little sprinkle on here too, because what else am I going to do with it? So, basic seasonings. It'll give it a little bit of spice. Not going to alter the flavor all that much. Salt and pepper is always good. So, what I'm going to do, get this pan hot, which I didn't turn on yet. So, cast iron has to be hot. I mean hot, hot. You want to get a good sear on whatever meat you're cooking in it. So what we're going to do is sear both sides, add a little bit of liquid, and I'm not sure, maybe a little bit of wine with a little bit of soy sauce. But the soy sauce is going to overwhelm it. Maybe a little bit of...
whiskey too.
What?
You have that whiskey too.
Ooh. Okay. Different plan. So we're going to sear the pork in the cast iron pan, and then we're going to take the mushrooms and cut them in half. And we're going to, once we sear both sides of the pork, we'll throw the mushrooms in, and it's going to go in the oven and cook down. Then, when the pork is done, we're going to pull it out, and we're going to put the cast iron pan back on the stove, and we're going to dump a little bit of whiskey in there with the mushrooms and the juice and the crap that falls off the pork as it's cooking. And it'll be awesome. And we'll use that as a sauce. Much better idea.
You're welcome.
Okay, so critical point. Cast iron gets hot. Don't grab a cast iron pan like you would in the other pan. That's probably not hot enough yet. So, soybean sprouts. I don't really want to use any carbs. At some point in these videos, I'm probably going to have to make some stuff with carbs. I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum, although I do love me some bread. The irony of me pouring a glass of wine as I'm saying that is not lost on me. Okay.
I like to refer to it as grain and processed sugar-free, and not like, I mean, grapes are fruit, so.
Oh, meat was on sale too.
You got meat.
Okay, I have an idea. Do we have any, like, anything that will simulate flour that's not horribly bad?
No.
Nothing at all. We don't have any, like, rice flour.
Are you trying to create a breading?
Just slightest amount of breading. We have breadcrumbs with cornmeal, but that's all.
Cornmeal would work.
It's too coarse, I think.
I guess that's what I love about cornmeal.
It'll work. Pork medallions in the pan. Remember, everything here, as I was saying, hot.
I'm really holding back from singing hot.
Might have been the most ungrateful meat slicing I've ever done in my life right there. But. Okay. Pork is going. Remember, raw pork is bad.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have the mushrooms. We're gonna roast them right off with the pork. These are a little bit dirty. Rinse the mushrooms off, let them drain. Just a friendly tip, mushrooms don't always drain very fast, especially if they're upside down. So after you let them sit for a second, shake them again, get more water out. That's going, this is going. Here's what I'm going to try and do. I really don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to deep fry the soybean sprouts and see if I can crisp them. And then I'm going to toss them with salt and chopped mint and use it as a garnish on top of the pork medallion, and then pour the pan sauce through the bean sprouts onto the pork. Okay, but you're sitting behind the camera and it's distracting.
I want to make sure everything records okay.
Does that sound alright? Do you think that'll work?
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll crisp or just turn to nothing.
I mean, it's only one way to find out.
Okay, so can you see that? A little bit browned. You don't want it to burn.
And this is still sort of pink in the center.
This is the first side. We're just turning it once. And remember, if it's pink on the side, that's okay. We're going to finish it in the oven. There's no way we're going to be able to cook through this pork without kind of burning it, if you will. We could cook it slow, but it still would toughen it. So we're going to sear the outsides, sear the juices in. I keep turning the pan like this because our house isn't level, and all the oil runs to one side.
Good size.
So these are really nice, actually. I'm glad I got 2 packs. Deep fryer's on. Like I said, we're going to try a couple first because they might explode. I don't know. I really don't know. This does work though. That's like a freebie alternative to French. Okay, so the pork is seared really good on both sides. We're taking the mushrooms and just cutting them into chunks. Half is fine. Some of the bigger ones maybe go into 4.
Are you worried about keeping them uniform?
No, not at all. You know, there is times and places where you want everything to be uniform. These are gonna wilt quite a bit, and when we soak them in the juice, we really, honestly, at least in my view, we're using them more as a carrier for the flavor that's gonna come out of that pan sauce. These mushrooms are gonna be heavily seasoned by that point. Sure, you're gonna get a little bit of the portobello carrying through, which is going to make it really kind of umami, but they're going to suck that pan sauce up and it's going to be awesome.
And those are baby bellas?
Those are baby bellas, yeah, which are also on sale. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's got to be hot, remember, hot. You want that sear to stay on the outside and just push that heat into the meat. Okay. Yeah, this will work. May or may not be the salad bowl from last night.
It had lettuce in it.
Alright. I am 100% serious when I don't know if this will work or if they're going to explode and spray oil everywhere.
I think that makes it better. The suspense is killing me.
Alright, cornmeal. What I'm trying to do is just give it a little bit of crust. Flour is normally what I would use in this situation. You know, douse them in a little bit of flour, like you would with chicken. And when you throw it in the oil, you get a little bit of a crust. So I threw a handful of sprouts in to see what happens.
If something explodes, I think it'd be funny.
For you.
the
Okay,
internet.
so this is literally like a little tiny bit sprouts falling through the cracks, which I didn't anticipate. All right, so into the pan, I chopped up 1 mint leaf. So you're gonna have to come over here and try this.
Okay. You don't have to, it's just my own.
All right, so minted sprouts.
It almost reminds me of like French fried onions.
Right, and that's kind of what I was going for.
Are they super hot still? They're really good. They're super hot still. But they are very good. Very good.
On top of pork.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we know it's gonna work.
The mint is excellent.
And probably not explode. Right? I thought the mint would offset the earthy flavor of the bean real well.
I love mint anyway. I almost wonder if mint rosemary.
I thought maybe mint with a little bit of chili powder salt instead of regular salt.
Is there rosemary in that?
Yeah. No, not in that, but I have it right here.
Why don't you put some rosemary in that and call it even? I love rosemary and mint, I guess is where I'm going from.
Well, I mean, I guess you're doing the show now.
I mean, that's how I handle life.
Mm.
I just take things for people.
Okay. So it worked. Well, nothing exploded. So in my mind, it worked. It not quite as much of a little crunch to it as I was hoping, but I'm gonna let the oil go, and until the meat gets closer, and try and do them all at once and let them go a little bit longer. Yeah, that pork looks ridiculous in there. And when we deglaze the pan, and by deglaze, and I hope this isn't talking down to people, we're going to dump whiskey into the pan and make a sauce with it that we're going to pour over top of everything. I think the mint with the whiskey and the soybeans over the pork is going to be awesome. So, mint leaves, yeah, just pull them off. You don't want stems. Stems are going to be a little bitter. Depending on what you're doing, you want to cut the mint into little pieces. We're going to toss it with sprouts. So, you know, you want fairly small pieces. If there's some weird chance anybody's trying to emulate this recipe, please don't cut your fingers off when you're doing that. Rosemary. I like to get the rosemary. Well, I like to get fresh rosemary actually, but this works. And so, oh, it smells great. It's always good in a pinch. It does smell good. Don't laugh at me.
Rosemary always smells good. It's like Thanksgiving.
Have dried rosemary. It's a great seasoning for white meat. So pork, chicken, a lot of fish. Rosemary works really well as a seasoning if you're in a pinch. Rosemary and a little bit of salt. You can serve that to anybody and it'll taste good. So, rosemary in the mortar. Grind it up. Get it like a powder so that what I'm going to actually do is mix it with my salt, chili powder, garlic powder, pepper mixture. Thing is pretty much rocking and rolling right now. We're going to give that pork a few more minutes. So, we'll be back in a second. Okay, we're gonna check on this real quick. All right, yeah. So there's this beautiful liquid at the bottom of this pan. Now all I'm doing right now is turning these over. They're almost done, but look at that. It almost looks like a scallop. Right? These were on sale. Buy one, get one free. How awesome is that? Right. It's like stealing a free meal. I mean, for lack of a better word. Okay, all I did was turn them over. Now, a little bit of that rosemary, salt that we just mixed together, because it'll pull that meat and these soybeans, sprouts together. Now, I'm going to turn this up a little hotter to really crisp them up on the outside. But just that little bit of rosemary on top should make a huge difference with these soybeans. I want the soybeans, the pork, and the pan sauce I'm going to create to come together as a one thing. Like one, it would be a centerpiece. If this was a restaurant dish, this would be a centerpiece, and there would be a vegetable and probably a starch accompanying this. I'm not doing that. I don't know. It just doesn't. We're not going to eat the starch, and soybeans are a pretty good vegetable. Given there's just two of us, there's plenty of food here. But if this was a restaurant dish, that's how I do it. One medallion, soybeans on top, pan sauce, starch, and a vegetable. So sometimes you want your topping to be distinctly different from the meat so you get a contrast. In this case, a fried anything, even if it was a French fry, fried onions, anything with meat like this pork, which is really not uniquely seasoned, it's just salt and pepper, you want the two fats to go together, so the deep fried and the pork fat. So we're trying to pair these, hence the rosemary and the salt mixture. Let's say we wanted to go a different way and we wanted to steam them slightly, keep them crisp, toss them in vinegar, like a balsamic vinegar, and maybe some capers. That's a distinctly different flavor, which would have offset the pork really starkly. Totally different meal, totally different feel. Equally probably as good. Actually, that sounds pretty good. We have another package of pork medallions.
Do we also another package of soybeans?
Right. But two distinctly different paths to take there. All right. Let's see what happens.
So he just dropped the rest of the bag of soybeans in this fryer. I was just explaining that you actually had soybeans in there.
You know what?
We cut all that out.
Oh. So we are now actively deep frying soybeans. Which I have to believe people have done before.
Yeah, I would think so. It's America.
Deep fried Twinkies.
Right.
Yeah.
Oreos. The list goes on. Pickles.
Don't spare us deep fried. So they're going to cook down a lot. So don't be nervous if it looks like they're shrinking, because they're shrinking. No doubt about it. See all this? That's all the moisture coming out. That's how French fries crisp. That's how anything crisp in the fryer. You're cooking the moisture out of it, or out of the outer layer at least. Okay. So I don't want to cook them into oblivion. Given that it's the first time I've really done this, we're going to pull them out. I don't know if this is early or not. Okay. So right now we just got deep fried beans, salt, mint. Make sure you get a really good toss. So, right here. Stir this around. Get it good and mixed up in there. You should smell mint, because these beans are still hot. Don't just stir them around. Like, pick stuff up, swirl it around, pick another piece up, swirl it around. Look, pick up, twist, pick up over here, twist. You'll get it mixed up good. It should almost look like minty spaghetti. Wow, that smells amazing. Like minty ramen right now. Alright, so we're going to pull the pork out. We're going to shut the oven off. Alright, okay. So these medallions are done. Now with any meat, we're going to pull them. Look at that. Looks like scallops. We're going to pull it, and we're going to let it rest. Because what we've done by heating these is drive all the moisture out of the meat. We're going to let that come back together. Now, remember, hot pan. You can't repeat this enough times. If you grab a hold of a cast iron pan with your bare hands, you will be unhappy. All right, so heat on. Now, you look at this pan, okay? See all that oil? See all that stuff? Just for the peoples, what is our top number on our burners?
Because we can see it's at 3. But what does that mean?
6. It's about mid.
So we're
about medium.
We're about medium.
Right,
medium heat.
All right. Bullet rye whiskey. So this is going to be, it's going to caramelize essentially instantly, okay? Whiskey is a really good marinade. It's a really good pan sauce. It may catch on fire. Right. Now, if you watch, all that stuff on the bottom is coming off. See that? A little bit of salt and pepper. Smell that? You can smell that caramelizing in the pan. Okay? Those mushrooms are going to soak that sauce up real good.
I mean, I smell it.
But I was talking to you.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do smell it. I also see that a lot of the liquid looks like it's evaporating really fast.
Well, that's because a lot of whiskey is alcohol, and alcohol evaporates at a low temperature. So when you have an alcohol that is 45 proof, that means it's 90 proof. It's 45% alcohol. Half of whatever I pour in that pan is going to evaporate very, very quickly.
See, we're learning things here.
All right. So you see that? A lot of all that stuff on the bottom has come off. Now I'm going to shut this off. And we're going to plate this. 2 side by side. Right. Now this was just review. This is discount pork, 99-cent bean sprouts, and mint that was on sale because it was going to exceed its use-by date. Okay, so we took the pork loin, we seared it, we deep fried the sprouts. Take, where did I put that? Yeah. I'm going to take a spoon. We're going to get some mushrooms and some sauce over the top. Now, you just watched me do that, and I had no idea where I was going with this when I started. Okay? This is not what I envisioned. And that's cool. Like, that's fine. It doesn't have to be what you envisioned. You want to make it fancy? Look, you got a little bit of leftover mint. That little tiny bit of green takes that from lame to table worthy. You know, a little bit of green sprinkled around. We've got 2 dishes that realistically, maybe not the best plating. You could serve at any restaurant.
Do you want to high five that?
That plate right there cost less than $2 a plate.